It started and now I'm rolling the intro thing. This is the Action Cast, the only podcast that only cares about justice and ouzo. And now, our feature presentation.
Like at the same time?
I mean, yeah, presumably. This is the Action Cast. My name is Joe Drilling, and of course, joining me at this time, the usual cast of knuckleheads. We'll start with Mr. Eric Allen.
When I go out on a mission, I do the right job.
Okay, good.
Can confirm, by the way. I can confirm that about Eric. And then we'll move on down the line to Mr. Alex Rio.
Yeah, I like Uzo, but today it's about justice.
And then, of course, Mr.
I know
Anthony
from this
Rogers.
movie,
I faced death 1,001 times. I've been stabbed, shot, beaten up, kicked in the ass.
And then the man who brought us this gem of a film that we're discussing this evening, Mr. Ethan Chang.
I can hear her tears on the podcast.
Oh,
Ethan is
my.
most valuable action cat, like MVP the month.
I mean,
like I don't know.
I
We only
mean,
do this monthly, but sure.
there's an argument to be made that Ethan is the MVP of the Action Cast just all around, but I don't know.
I didn't expect this reaction. I love this movie, but also it's barely a movie.
Yeah,
It's barely a movie.
This movie
Yeah,
actually
that's
is we'll get into it, but this movie actually is fucking terrible, and I'll probably never watch it again. But it's
definitely.
Oh yeah.
I think I would have had more fun with this one actually if we had all watched it together, like on Discord or something. I would have had more fun. I mean, I still had fun with it, but that's the optimal
The
viewing
same
experience.
thought occurred to me. Like,
I'm
This is-
absolutely gonna watch the first 3 minutes sometime in my life.
Yeah,
But
this
beyond
is
that,
up through the president's speech, I think.
this is
We'll get there.
This is hotel room at PAX East.
Yes.
like,
Yeah. Right.
type of viewing. In my that's like ideal conditions. But before we get into that, I'm gonna start with Alex's apology to Bryce before we.
Oh,
get
okay,
into
hang
this.
on. So, as of June 1st, the film Streets of Fire is now available on Netflix streaming.
Yeah.
I know what this is.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so we did an episode on that. I looked this up. I actually listened to not all of it, but like a good chunk of it. We did an episode about it at Bryce's behest, and I even liked it at the time. And like I said, I didn't finish it, so I don't know what re-listening to the episode, so I don't remember what my full thoughts are. But I definitely listened enough into it where I said specifically like I did like the movie.
Mhm.
But I feel like I should have had Bryce's back more,
Mm-hmm.
because now as an adult, because that was
As an adult, you were an adult then, dude.
as an older adult. This was 9 years ago.
You were a
In 5
neonatal adult
days-
then.
In 5 days, it's 9 years ago as of this
Jesus.
recording.
Jesus.
So,
Don't say that.
and that's fucking math, dude. Like,
Yeah.
you know.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
Well, regardless, the facts are the facts. Anyway, what? You got me all fucked up, man.
You're
You
apologizing.
were gonna
I
apologize
didn't
To Bryce.
I didn't have Bryce's back enough, because that movie. I rewatched it, and I watched it while I was exercising, and let me tell you, I've never felt that strong in my life.
No. Does that
Like,
Willem
I
Dafoe
felt-
in rubber pants really gets you going that much? Is what you're saying?
Willem Dafoe appearing out of a burning building in rubber overalls and then turning around and walking back into the burning building.
So
And then just like Rick Moranis in every scene being like, I got the money. See, you don't know how the world works because you need the money and I've got the money.
Yeah, my favorite part of that movie is that she goes with Rick Moranis instead of Michael Paré at the end, and it's
Yeah.
just like most.
Because it's that kind of movie, man.
Yeah,
it's
I
that
know.
kind of story. It's not like... He even says there's lines like, our lives will go in different directions. It's nobody's fault. It's just not going to happen. And it's like, yeah, it's like, that's the kind of story. It's a fable. It's in the
It's a rock and
opening
roll fable. It's true.
fucking title.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, and it fucking whips ass. And
So,
it's great.
Alex,
Everybody should watch
that
it.
brings us to the $64,000 question, which I have to ask.
Sure.
How's your hammer hanging?
Yeah, rest in power to Bill Paxton.
Sounding the bill arm.
Game over!
Yeah.
Game over! Game
My hammer's
over! Game over!
slightly
Game
to the
over!
left, as always. How are you doing?
Yep, doing all right.
So
Also,
Alex and I talked about. Hold on, we talked about this
Yeah.
like.
I'm in the middle of my heartfelt apology.
Okay. I was gonna join your apology, but go ahead.
All right, okay. I was gonna say, and also I was very mean to you very often, Bryce, listening back on that. And I know it was like a shtick, but I was like, damn.
There were moments when the shtick went between you and Bryce specifically went a bit far in the old days. I listened to a couple old episodes and I was like, fuck, like wow.
Yeah, I know. I don't know, man. It was a different time.
I mean, it wasn't just you though. It wasn't just like he did it too, and it was like both of you were like, wow.
Well, I think we both mellowed out a little bit.
Yeah, now you're like sort of crusty old.
Now
like,
we're mad.
You're mad friends at each other.
I was gonna say, now I'm just mad about like the world and not.
Oh
Bryce.
yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. You got bigger fish to fry now.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I don't care about like Bryce is like I like this horror movie, and I'm like I don't like that. That's not like an affront to God and man anymore. Now it's like things that are actually like
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway,
there are plenty of affronts to God and man happening in the world today.
So Alex and I talked about this like a week or so ago because we both saw the news that like that movie is on Netflix now. And we both had the same reaction of like, oh, fuck yeah, that movie rules. And we're like, wait, did I actually like it when I first watched it? Because I also remember being like not...
The only thing I remember about that episode is Bryce bagging on me for not liking it more. And I kept being like, I did like it, Bryce. And he was like, but I thought you would like it more. And I'm like, I liked it. Like, I don't know.
Bryce is right. You should have fucking loved it.
That's my point is like all these years later, I'm like, man, that movie fucking rules. I'm so stoked that it's like on Netflix and I can watch it. And then I was like, did I feel that way when I watched it? Because I remember not liking it as much. Why did I change? But that's fine.
Well, now
I've never seen this movie in my life, so you
It's
guys
good.
are saying
You would
I
like it
I
on
gotta see it.
Netflix.
you should.
it.
Yeah, I think you would like it, Ethan.
And you
I
better
don't
like
like
it
it
a lot.
enough.
Yeah, exactly.
It'll take you 9 years to come around and
Alex and Bryce owe an apology.
9 years from now, Ethan.
so watch it tonight, and then in 9 years we'll ask you
Report back
like
in 9 years.
what's the vibe on Streets of Fire.
I did also see when it came out on Netflix. Somebody on Twitter said trick your friends into watching anime by making them watch Streets of Fire, and I was like, that's perfect. It's that kind of thing. It's very dumb. It's very stupid. It's very cheesy and melodramatic, but also it fucking rules. Everybody's got big hair, and it's the 1950s, 80s.
Yeah, actually, a perfect.
Everything's made out of gasoline.
Yeah, everything is made out of gasoline. Holy shit.
Anyway.
That's the perfect segue into the news.
Oh God.
Okay, hold on.
Nope, I'm already playing it.
June 15th, 2030.
This is Media Break.
Ask
You give us
Ethan,
3 minutes, and we'll
which
give
is a
you the
Saturday.
world.
Oh,
Ask
okay, good. I
Ethan
won't be doing anything.
about
Yeah, I'll be free.
of fire.
All right, so I didn't actually put this on the list of news items, but Jim Steinman died since we're talking about Streets of Fire. So pour one out for composer of the songs in Streets of Fire,
Anyone
Jim
who's
Steinman.
listening, including me again.
Yeah.
Is it an original score by Jim Steinman, or just
He wrote the songs for the band, the fake band that Diane Lane sings for. He wrote the songs, and they're good. And I remember at the time, I don't remember, Alex. I think I probably said this on the show, but I haven't listened to it in a long time. But I remember
far enough to where you joined. 'Cause you came late,
I was late.
so I
Yeah,
don't know.
I remember
Anyway.
watching that movie and being like, "Man, these songs are pretty good, but why do they sound like they're like fucking Meatloaf B-sides?"
songs.
And then, like, it turns out
They are.
they are. But like, yeah, I mean, tonight is what it feels to be young. Not that I would know anymore, but
Well, right now we're going nowhere fast.
that's right. So let's get through the news. I'm gonna windsock through the news unless people have stuff
so
to
much
say.
better going nowhere fast.
I feel like Bryce would have things to say about some of these things. I don't know about the rest of you.
Is Ned Beatty passing on that list?
No, actually, did that happen?
Yeah, yesterday.
Oh wow, I totally missed
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Pour one out for
That's
Ned
a
Beatty.
huge bit. Yeah, I mean, listen, one of my all-time favorite movie speeches is his speech from Network.
Yeah.
So,
This
Which is the thing I saw like shared the most yesterday.
What's that? Oh, that speech. From
That
Network?
speech.
well,
yeah.
that's good, and
I
it
ended
wasn't
up watching it
his
again.
infamous scene from Deliverance. That would be a worse thing to share.
Sadly, that movie just gets more and more relevant as time passes. So
I was
Yeah.
positive Ned Beatty died in like 2005.
I don't know that I thought it was that long ago, but I was pretty sure he was. There was another
I haven't
one
heard
recently.
from him in a long time.
Yeah, there was another celebrity death not that long ago where I was like, oh, shit, I would be really sad about that if I realized they were still alive. But I can't remember who it was, but there's somebody else who was obviously like older than Ned Beatty, I'm sure, but
Ned Beatty, one of the all-time great character actors.
absolutely.
Mhm.
So apparently, I haven't watched it yet, but apparently the new restoration of Raiders of the Lost Ark is actually not bad and doesn't like actually fuck the movie up and make it worse, which is
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, is it a restoration or like an abomination?
no, it's actually a apparently, I haven't seen it yet, but I'm told by people who pay attention to a lot of that kind of stuff specifically that it's just a cleaned up. It's the same movie. Yeah, they didn't add digital
Blended
map
to-
paintings
blended to
or
perfection.
dude. I don't. Can't weigh in on that, but I know that people do. So I'm just gonna McClunky
Hayden
on to the
Christensen
next.
was in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, right. I heard someone defend that recently, and I was like, no, not like they were trying to be like, well, you know, because like when he became Darth Vader, that's what he looked like, and I'm like, yeah, I kind of get where you're coming from, but also no, fuck that.
Remember, man, one of my all-time favorite things is watching George Lucas explain how Harrison Ford steps on
Mm-hmm.
what's his face's tail.
Jabba the Hutt.
And they
Uh-huh.
totally added him into the original Star Wars. And just,
It's weird that he doesn't explain why Jabba the Hutt is like a third of his normal size in Return of the Jedi when he's
I mean,
digitally
he's a
added.
growing boy, Joe.
I guess so. Yeah, I guess so.
I was hoping if I distracted you enough, you'd forget about the news.
No. But yeah, but I'll go through it faster if you don't try to do that. Donnie Yen is going to be in John Wick 4, so that's going to be rad.
He's gonna like punch a gun.
I don't know. The fight with Mark Dacascos at the end of John Wick 3, that was 3, right? Where he fights Mark Dacascos in the glass room.
I've still
one of
only
them.
seen the first one.
That you should see the other two. None of them are as good as the first one, in my opinion, but they're both. I would say the first one, then the third one, then the second one is my ranking personally.
These
But
days, I'll watch one of those movies.
Yeah,
Oh, you
you
should-
need both, Eric.
you should definitely watch the first one at the very least.
The first one's good. Yeah,
How do you feel about the first Ip Yam?
I
I
enjoyed it, as you know.
Yeah,
Right.
we all know everybody's opinion on that.
no, you don't know mine because that's like the only episode of the original run that I wasn't on. So you don't know how I feel about it.
We pretty
I'll
much
let you.
just talked about sweet potatoes the whole
Yeah,
time.
we
Oh,
did.
no, I
And
listened
that
to
was-
it. I just wasn't on it, but I've heard it. I've heard it.
Really an incredible, really an incredible 90 minutes of audio.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Probably.
So that'll be cool. I'm looking forward to that. George Romero's The Amusement Park has been released after almost 40 years in hiding, and almost 50 years. Sorry, almost 50 years in hiding. And I haven't watched it yet, but apparently it was not meant to be a theatrical film. It was like an industrial, basically, that a church group trying to combat elder abuse paid George Romero to make a movie about like the dangers and the problems with elder abuse, and it's told through this apparently completely tripped out metaphor of an amusement park, and it's like 50 minutes long and it's on Shudder. I haven't watched it yet, but I'm definitely going to check it out probably this weekend because I'm really interested to see what the hell this is. And we're not going to get any more new Romero films, so an old one coming out after a long time is pretty cool. So in reboot news, Elijah Wood.
No.
Yeah,
I never really watched that show.
No,
Elijah Wood, yeah. It's
Elijah.
not that great.
Yeah,
Two things that I really don't care about. Next.
Elijah Wood is playing the villain in Macon Blair's Toxic Avenger reboot.
Nope. What? Wait. What?
Elijah Wood. Okay,
Broke my never mind. Next.
Macon Blair, who is a collaborator of Jeremy Saulnier, Green Room. He co-wrote the scripts for Green Room and Blue Ruin, and I think
North is the Toxic Avenger. Next.
yes, and he's remaking this. The next Predator film, the lead has been cast. It's a Native American actress named Amber Midthunder. The only thing I recognized that I'd seen her in was Legion, which was a super weird, technically X-Men show that was on FX, and she was really good in that. So she's a good choice for the next Predator movie, I guess. I don't know. All those movies are at least watchable, so see where that goes.
I'm only interested in any of these movies if someone has their head punched down through their own asshole into a dirty diaper.
Uh-huh.
I thought you were talking about Predator still for a second. I was
Yeah,
like,
so did I. I was like, I don't.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's
Yeah.
see the Predator.
We'll just take that scene and then we'll put it in every movie.
Put it in every movie, yeah.
I hope they edited that in. That's
They're
the
doing
one
it
thing
to
I
the
hope
Predator, or is
that
the
they
Predator
put
doing
into
it?
The
ratings.
Predator's doing it.
I hope
Because
they
that was where I
edited
first
into
went.
Indiana Jones. That's the
Yeah.
one thing.
Yes, Indiana Jones needs to do that to a Nazi. Punch his head out his ass and into a dirty diaper.
Why is Indiana Jones political?
It's gonna be it depends.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna skip the next thing because it's just depressing and who gives a shit. But the last thing I have is that Chad Stahelski, who is one of the co-writers of John Wick and directed one or two of them, is remaking Highlander with Henry Cavill as Christopher Lambert, which on the one hand is a bummer because he won't be able to say lots of different places with an accent that is completely unplaceable.
Hopefully, if he's as good of an actor as I think he is,
He will be able.
He
to
will
do
be
that.
able to do that. Well, yeah, there you go.
But
I
you're
didn't.
just Scottish, so you make him sound like he's from France.
Right. I still haven't watched, and also we need an Egyptian guy who sounds Scottish. That is very important. But I didn't watch the Witcher show, but I heard it was pretty good, and so Henry Cavill can swing a sword.
What was Skyfall? Was the Mission Impossible he was in? He was really good in that.
That was James Bond.
Skyfall was James Bond.
I don't remember the.
Rogue Nation.
No.
I think it's like, was it the
Something-
Fallout Boy one?
Fallout. I think it was
Fallout.
Fallout.
Fallout
Yeah.
Boy, yeah.
Nuclear bomb in it.
Yeah, he was good in that.
He was excellent in that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All I know about that is there's that scene where he cocks his arms like they're guns. That's all I know about that movie.
You should
Yeah.
You should at least watch the bathroom fight, Alex.
That's that scene, Alex. It's good. That bathroom fight is really
Yeah,
good.
Really.
that's what. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. When we talked about Highlander, I think Eric specifically called out Highlander as a movie that actually could use a remake. There's a better version of that movie.
No, there isn't. That's wrong. And I said that at the
There
time.
is a different and equally enjoyable version.
But the one that comes out in 2022 with Henry Cavill is not going to
know.
be that.
I absolutely
I'm with-
think it
I'm
could
with-
be that. I absolutely think it could be that.
I think both those opinions are right. It
Especially with
and
one
that
of the John
could-
Wick
could
dudes at
happen,
the
but
helm.
also Alex is right in that it won't.
Okay.
I mean, it depends on who the rival is.
That's also true.
That's true. Yeah, I think I said this. I don't remember if it was in an email thread or to
There was
one
an
of
email.
you
Yeah.
or my brain. But they should just cast Clancy Brown again.
Right. Yeah.
Just don't change anything.
Yeah, sure. How old Clancy Brown's only like 70, so that'll be
He's-
fine.
Maybe 60 something. I don't know that he's 70.
He's 62, but he looks like he's 70.
Yeah. Right.
62, that's fine, man. He's doing
Look,
great.
how old, Harrison Ford's making Indiana Jones 5, okay? And how old is fucking Harrison Ford?
He's like 75, I think. 'cause I
He's
think
no,
I
I
just saw
think he's in
something
his
the other
80s.
day.
I think he's in his 80s.
I thought I saw something the other day. Well, let's check this out.
Like
Google. Okay, Google. Harrison.
78. He's
78. Okay, wow.
All right.
He'll be
Well,
80 by the time it comes out.
We split the difference.
All right. Well, so that's all the newses that I have. I don't know if anybody else has any newses, but otherwise we should
Absolutely not.
move on to Zeus the Crime Killer.
Did you find that it was actually called that? Is that an alternate title?
There is an alternate, yes, there is an alternate title where it is called Zeus the Crime Killer. In some releases, it was called that. So,
This guy is like the bad Greek Harrison Ford.
So not
Yeah,
like
There's
Harrison
a lot of people
Ford
in this
at
movie
all.
that are like the great value version of somebody else.
That's
and-
true. That is
But,
true.
Yeah.
There's something about the way George Pan-Andreas like has this like slouchy, and he's supposed to be kind of sarcastic, which reminds me of, like I said, a bad Greek Harrison Ford.
Yeah, I guess I can kind of see that. That makes some sense. This
Yeah,
movie
there's
is
just like, yeah, anyway.
Barely a movie.
I feel like if I watched this movie while I was like, if I had a fever, or I had taken like my migraine meds, or I was just like generally in a
Say you
fugue
went
state.
on a really long hike, and then came back to a hotel room and took a shower, and then fell asleep, and then woke up during the Vietnam. The Vietnam. Probably freaked out a little bit. I'm
So
not saying that's what
So
happened.
can we set some context here? Maybe
No.
Ethan can like explain
I
what
mean,
the hell this is.
I think we
I can
necessarily
try.
have to.
Yeah, that's
to at least
some
try.
kind of context would be helpful.
I mean, I don't have a deep well of knowledge about this movie, but it's a movie that's very clearly a self-funded vehicle by this guy George Pan-Andreas, who seems to have been like an actor, a Greek immigrant to LA who must have been independently wealthy. It's very clear that he wrote the script to this movie and did not get it proofread by somebody who's a native English speaker.
Mm-hmm.
And it also seems that he cast a lot of his friends and shot some scenes in his house and
You
such.
don't say.
Yeah, like he has a pool. The pool features in the movie prominently. Things like that. And
There
it's
are
like
a lot
a
of scenes that just happen at his house because that was, I'm assuming, the only place that he could afford to shoot it.
So he is not credited as a writer on this film, but he did direct
Oh,
it.
interesting.
Yeah, he did direct it. He did star in it. He's credited with
Who else
stunts,
would have written this?
and he.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking at right now, actually.
Maybe
and
his friend.
but the thing that is bizarre is he edited this movie. So
That explains a whole.
it explains a lot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see here. Oh,
Sometimes-
okay. Wait, no. I got it, guys. You got it. I am looking at the IMDb page right now, and you need to hear this to believe it. But there are no credited writers on this film. Which also makes a
Like,
good
not
deal
even
of
him?
sense. No, literally, no one is
They
credited
just,
as a
like-
writer
they
on this
just, like,
movie.
went at it.
Apparently.
All right, I'm in. Good.
Yep.
That,
So I'm
that tracks.
gonna give the nod to
So
George
he has
Pan-Andreas.
a review on his IMDb page says a real estate businessman,
Mm-hmm.
Pan-Andreas owns numerous properties in the Los Angeles area, including a 59-unit building at 830 North Van Ness Avenue. So there you go.
There you go.
It's Hollywood Dream Suites Hotel.
Mhm.
Basically, it's an inscrutable piece of outsider art that if this had come out in the streaming era or like the era of social media, this would have been like The Room, or at least it would have had a shot of being that, because who knows how many
Yeah.
movies are made now that could be that don't hit, but
Mhm.
it's definitely that kind of thing.
I had more fun with this than when I tried to watch The Room.
Yeah, I was gonna say
did-
this
I
is.
did too.
I honestly, the Room is one that I just don't get. Like it's so bad that I don't enjoy.
I love that movie. That movie's amazing. But we'll agree to disagree. I mean, you're not wrong when you say that it's bad.
Well, everybody
Certainly
knows
not.
that it's bad, but like I'm saying that movie is so bad that I find it difficult to watch. Like
I mean, there's just a scene where they're all in, for no reason explained, like they're just all wearing tuxedos.
yeah,
And
I
they're just,
I
like,
recall.
Do you want to go outside and throw a football around? Is like the plot point in like 4 different scenes. That movie's incredible, man. It is really bad though. Like you have to. It's got to
This
be
one's-
late.
this
you
one's
gotta
got,
be
like,
drunk
nonstop
and,
action.
Like when Anthony.
Does it?
Yeah, does it? When Anthony and I lived in DC, there was a theater that showed The Room at midnight, like at least once a
yeah.
month.
Sure.
And a bunch of people would go, but I was always just like, I do not need to pay money to see that movie at all. Not even a little
Oh,
bit.
no, it's
I'll
fun.
just fall asleep in the theater.
Yeah,
It's fun. I mean, it's probably not since I know you liked Rocky Horror and all that shit.
Yeah.
Like, I know you would probably find it tame in comparison. However, It's kind of like that, and it's fun.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that there's like callbacks and everybody does silly
Yeah,
shit,
the
which
whole
is
thing
that's
is
yeah. Right. But
it's all the only ones that I remember is there's something you're supposed to throw spoons. I don't remember why. And then there's anytime water shows up in the movie, you just have to yell water, which like got me because there's a bunch of like random insert shots of just like here's San Francisco, and it's like and it never really occurred to me that that was like happening until I saw it in theaters, and everybody just kept yelling water all the time. Anyway, what are we talking about?
I was just going
A
to talk
better
about
movie.
how
Are
George
we?
George Pan-Andreas is apparently in the process of making a movie about Pontius Pilate in which he plays Pontius Pilate.
Perfect.
Uh-huh.
All right.
Sounds
Like
Yep.
what?
I think the more ambitious he gets, the better.
I mean, this movie is extremely like so
I mean, he
This-
cast the president in it.
this movie has such a boilerplate. That's my single favorite thing about this movie is the fact that it has no sense of scale. That it's just like he's like, what are the highest possible stakes I could assign to my vanity project action movie? Oh, the mob is going to kill the president and also sell $5 billion worth of weapons to an unnamed Middle Eastern
In
country.
exchange for $20 million worth of cocaine.
And I think doesn't in that scene at the pool. We'll get to it. We got to go through this movie scene by
I was
scene.
gonna say, I feel like
think
we have
the
to go
sum of
point by
money
point
changes
on this
from
one.
$5 billion to 20 million,
Mhm.
like just on a whim.
Mm-hmm. It's originally supposed to be $5 billion in gold bullion, and then it changes to like 20 million worth of cocaine. And well, let's start at the top because actually the first
Because it goes all the way to the top.
it does go all the way to the top.
The cocaine retails for way more than $5 billion, probably.
Yeah, that's actually probably true. If it's whatever, it's not important, really.
Okay.
George Pan-Andreas didn't think it was that important, so I don't think it's that important either. Arguably, the best scene in the movie is the pre-credits cold open, where Pan-Andreas is a cop.
We see a
Yeah.
trailer for a Rutger Hauer movie.
We see a
Yeah,
trailer
that
for a
was
Rutger
nice.
Hauer movie. Yeah. Is
I feel
he?
like that set the tone right, having that in there for no reason.
Yeah.
That made me really happy.
I always feel good when I see Rutger Hauer.
I feel good. I
Yeah,
get some warm fuzzies when I see the New World Video like VHS
Yeah,
logo.
same.
Honestly,
We should also add that this movie is streaming nowhere, and we watched it on YouTube. And the only reason why it's on YouTube is because somebody just put a VHS rip of it on YouTube.
because
Right, and the
absolutely
way
no
to-
one
to
gives a
find it on-
shit.
If you look up the crime killer, I think it finds a PS1 game.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So you have to look up crime killer movie George Pan-Andreas, and then it's in the first 5 results. I think maybe we doubled the view count on this.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, the full movie's there and has not been taken down.
No.
And there's tits in it.
Shout out to Carol Dingman for uploading this.
I was gonna
Thanks,
say for
thanks,
showing her
Carol.
boobs in the movie, or no, for
Possibly.
uploading it. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
just
maybe-
anytime,
We don't.
anytime there's tits on YouTube, I'm always like, oh wow, this is gonna go away.
Yeah, I think we move past that,
Carol-
depending on the. I don't know.
Also, I just want to say Carol Dingman also has made a playlist. The only other thing that she's posted is a playlist of 12 Halloween dance music tracks.
Are they good ones? Or
Monster Mash, Time Warp,
there you go.
original Ghostbusters theme song,
Mhm.
Dead Man's Party, Thriller, Addams Family theme, One-Eyed, One-Horned Flying Purple People Eater, Graveyard Cha-Cha by the 3Ds. I don't know what that one is.
There's a Mike Patton cover of that song that's really good,
Justin
actually.
Springfield Spooky,
There you go.
I'm Your Boogeyman by Casey and the Sunshine Band.
Mhm.
This is really, it's an incredibly normal person.
That's
who,
a-
for
that's a-
some reason
Yeah.
posted
Yeah.
the crime killer.
Yeah. Maybe she is the woman who shows her boobs in this movie.
I feel.
Oh
like-
my god, actually, sorry. Carol Dingman as Shannon is
Oh dear.
in the cast on
I was gonna
IMDb,
say, I feel
so
like I looked it up and she was in the movie.
she is in the movie. I don't know if she's I don't remember anybody's name because names don't matter
That's
in this
the
movie.
girlfriend.
That's the girlfriend,
That's his
okay.
girlfriend, yeah. Not Willie's girlfriend.
Right. But this, so there's this whole scene on these docks where there's like a shipment of drugs coming in, I
Probably.
guess, or
Did
something.
they even say?
They
I
don't.
mean,
They don't
Is that
say.
the docks,
I'm.
or is that the old factory where the other cocaine deal is?
No, that's a different. I mean, it's probably the outside of that old factory, but it is not meant to be the same location. I don't think. But yeah, there's this like a shootout, and there's some explosions, and this is where all of the money for this movie went to this scene.
Yeah.
It looks like a commercial for like Laser Zone or whatever your local equivalent, like
Yeah.
laser tag
Yeah,
arena was,
right.
filled with smoke.
Qzar.
Qzar, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Fun
My sister
World
worked at Qzar,
was.
and she got me in for free. Shout out to
Oh,
my
hell yeah.
sister.
Nice.
Fun World was mine because it didn't just have laser tag. Yeah, it wasn't just laser tag. They also had indoor mini golf and an arcade and an indoor Ferris wheel. So
There was a place like that. That when Qzar closed down, that was the place that was that equivalent to me. Like, was where we would have to go for laser tag. But their laser tag wasn't as good.
That's a bummer.
But Qzar closed. What were we gonna do? You know?
Yeah, well,
you
you gotta do something.
gotta get tagged by a laser. So I
Mhm.
mean,
All right. Listen,
Got to.
we have
Yep.
to talk about the one amazing thing that happens in this movie.
oh yeah, I've been waiting for it. We got distracted by lasers, but
When he comes out of the goddamn trash.
yeah.
These
Wait, it's not just that there's one guy. There's
fucking Oscar the
there's
Oscar
three
the
of them
Grouch.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, this movie predicts lethal enforcers in that scene.
For those of you who have not seen the film, and first of all, pause this right now, and then go do
Go
that.
watch the crime
So
killer.
we don't spoil it for you. But if you're curious,
It's short.
we'll
It's
tell
like
you.
85 minutes, something like that.
But what we're talking about is in the middle of a scene where there's just like a shootout. Everybody kind of disappears for a second, and George Pan-Andreas is walking around like, "Where are they?" And then just this motherfucker pops out of a trash can with a knife when he's standing right next to the trash can, and then two other guys do the same thing, and he just shoots them.
But I think he holds the one guy up.
Yeah.
There might be a one-liner, I don't remember. And then the other guys come out, and Zeus has to divert his attention, so the guy stabs him in the chest.
Well, that's what.
And then his partner Willie has to expose his position and shoot the other two guys.
Mm-hmm.
And then Willie is shot by someone else who's like hiding behind a pallet, I think.
Well, a lot
Oh
of
yeah,
this movie.
the guy like squeezes the trigger as he's dying and shoots Willie in the stomach or something
Yeah.
like that.
A lot of this movie's like just the geometry and the editing, like it just does not make any sense at all. Because like while he's talking to Willie, like Willie's dying, and he's giving his like, "Oh, you gotta like get out of here, man, save yourself," like speech.
soft.
Yeah.
Why'd you get soft?
While that's happening,
He's a
like
teenager, man.
just dudes in the background are just like shooting like the ground, like
yeah, there's a lot
they're
of
just
guys, like shooting into the air or shooting into the ground or just firing guns and random.
they're not like shooting at them because they would know where those two guys. There's only two cops and they're in the same spot, and there's guys just like shooting while they're not shooting back at them, like, and they're not. It's like, what's going on here? Like,
They were distracted by how tight Zeus's pants were.
well, fair enough.
Completely missing from like the actual text of the scene is these guys, like the guys popping out of the trash. I think they're supposed to be corrupt cops. Like they're all supposed to be cops.
Are they
Like,
all
all
supposed to be
cops?
cops? I didn't think.
Or at
I'm
least
not-
maybe
the last
some of
two
them.
guys.
Yeah, that was just the
Oh,
last
okay.
two guys.
Oh, right, that's right. Yeah.
The rest of these guys are just like
They're
dudes who beat up in Streets of Rage or whatever.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that is
So why he's in this alley
Street
slash
of Rage.
factory / dock area. I'm not really clear what he's doing there, but
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
So it really doesn't. Nothing in this movie makes sense. So So after the credits, which prominently feature the
Unbelievable
Greek
credits.
god Zeus, yeah, because he's Zeus, you see.
Well, so wait. So yeah, Zeus rolls over, grabs Willie, rolls back over out of cover. They have their little conversation, and then two cops show up and say that there's a bounty out on Zeus and Willie's heads that were put there by quote unquote the syndicate. And so the two cops
course,
decide to try
of course.
and finish Zeus off to collect the bounty, and then Zeus shoots them both. And then pretty incredible.
I'm putting the link to the movie in the description of the live stream right now. So, yeah,
the pretty incredible.
Yeah.
It's not really animated. It's
No.
just a collage of like the Parthenon and Zeus, and then there's and our boy George like transposed on top of each other, and then you get to see Zeus, like the statue of Zeus, shoot lasers out of its eyes, which is pretty good.
Yeah, but only once for no reason.
I mean, listen, when Zeus shoots lasers out of his eyes, they stay shot. He doesn't have to do it again, you know?
This show. He
That's-
don't miss.
Also, gotta say that's right after the credit that the music credit to who was it? The George Michaelitis, and it's like, we love you, we thank you, praise God, or whatever.
Oh, yeah,
We thank you, we love you, God bless your soul.
I just assumed that was like his friend or something.
Yeah, well,
Like
right.
an uncle who died.
And after the credits, we push into the next scene. I think is at Zeus's house, right?
Yeah.
And in the establishing shot of the inside of the house really reveals that whoever he paid to shoot this movie was used to shooting like commercials for breakfast cereal and stuff.
Yes. Oh my
It's like
God.
you see
Yes.
this camera movement that like is like the kind of movement where you push in just as the whole family is getting together to play a board game or something.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Drenched with light.
Yes. Except for the first scene, almost everything else is overlit in this movie.
Oh yeah.
Lit as fuck.
Yeah, and so it turns out that he comes home and like does some shit with his family while his wife
He
is
really asks Zeus to take care of his family, and
Right.
so Zeus's wife and his child move into, or Willie's wife and child move into Zeus's house, which was built by Zeus's three brothers who fought in Vietnam with him, which is incredible.
So I have to pause here. So I took some notes in this movie, and I eventually gave up because my arc was like, I don't usually take notes during movies. And then there was this line where she said they went through Vietnam together, and the other lady goes, Vietnam, and then
Yeah.
like doesn't say anything, and then changes the subject.
Yeah.
And I laughed so hard at it that I wanted to remember that, and then I just started taking notes.
so
But
hard.
at some point, the lines got so ridiculous, and there were so many in rapid succession that I just gave up. So
Yeah, it's hard to keep a handle on it. I think, is this the same scene where somebody, who is it that has a conversation with Zeus where he's dunking that baby in and out of the water repeatedly?
It's Willie's
No,
wife,
it's a little
isn't it?
later.
Like
Yeah,
yelling from across the patio, or
I thought it was
Yeah,
one of
yelling
the-
from across
Oh, no,
the
you're right,
area
you're right,
of the camera
Eric.
as he's just like, he's got this kid who is like, maybe a large 2-year-old or a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
He's dunking this toddler in and out of the water and talking to this woman, and like he's shot for whatever reason from like 50 feet away,
and mic'd from
and
50
you can
feet away
barely hear
too.
him.
Yeah, they didn't ADR it. They just it was like wild sound from where they were standing and shooting this, and so it's just like blah 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 blah. Like you
He's
can't.
fucking that naked kid like he's dying an Easter egg. I don't know what the technique is or what the point is, but and it's like a hot tub that's like above the pool.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
I muted my mic by accident, but I made a point, which was you can't hear anything in this movie. It's not just this
No,
scene.
no.
That's
it's
true.
especially if you
I-
mute your mic.
I had my
I can
TV
still
turned
hear
up
you.
like I had my TV turned up like more than twice as loud as if I was watching something normal,
Yep.
while watching
Yeah,
this movie.
Yeah.
And
It's a
And it's
nightmare.
fine if you can't hear it because the dialogue doesn't make any sense anyways. So
Yeah, and it's the
really-
whole movie is scored with the softest smooth jazz. I guess you'd call it smooth jazz. Like,
For lack of a
it's
better
smooth jazz,
term.
but maybe there's like more solos. Like there's scenes in this movie, like action sequences, where there's just like a gentle trumpet solo.
Well, you see, Ethan, not only
Except
did he
for-
get his friend who shoots breakfast commercials, he got his friend who scores breakfast cereal commercials
Yes,
as well.
Except the scene where he's driving the Jeep, where my note says, "This song is a fucking jam."
Yeah, dude, I know
That's
what you're
the
talking
one,
about.
yeah,
Yeah,
at the
I
end.
remember that.
At the end,
Yeah.
right, yeah. So he goes to work, I guess, and I'm still not, like, the descriptions of this movie indicate
broke
that
into
he's
John Carpenter's house and robbed one of the
one
songs that
good
they
song.
used from Precinct 13.
Yeah. He I don't know if he's a cop or an FBI agent, or if he's a cop who gets
they say
fired and
later
becomes an
on-
FBI
He's
agent.
a cop,
He's a
but then
CIA
in the
agent,
last
isn't he?
CIA,
scene,
that's right, CIA.
They say that he like quit the CIA, and it's like, and then I guess became a cop. It's like, all right.
But you guys
So-
think it was really weird that the CIA had their headquarters inside of a
Masonic center.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty weird. But okay.
Just remember, Joe, you'll always be one of us. Don't you ever forget that.
Yeah. The most realistic part of
'Cause
this.
we're never in the same place once.
Yeah, that poor guy had to read the line, "We're never in the same place once," just with a straight face, because nobody. I mean, okay, this movie was written by George Pan-Andreas. He didn't give himself the credit, but he for sure.
So
wrote
he
it.
actually, I rewatched the credits.
He's credited.
I rewatched the credits, and it does say written and directed by George Pan-Andreas. So he
Yes,
did give himself
and-
the credit.
and with the script looked at by no one else.
Yeah, apparently not. The value of an editor is alive and well in this film. So this is the only really truly realistic part of this film, which is that a cop that we are told is a good cop does something to stop bad cops from being bad, and then he's the one who gets fired, and that is the most realistic thing in
It's
this
the
movie.
damn politicians, Joe.
That's right. That's right. It's definitely not the police unions who cover for bad cops, or the blue wall of silence, or any of that stuff. It's the damn politicians. That's for sure. Of course, and it turns out, needless to say, because this is an 80s action movie, that in fact Zeus is actually a terrible cop. But we're told that he's a good cop.
It takes a great thief to make a good cop.
And this scene we get to meet
God, we'll get to that.
Karras, who's he's like the other good cop who we don't see him do much. He doesn't get fired, but he's the guy who says "fuck the politicians" and yells at the
And fires his
chief of
gun,
police.
Yes. Very convincingly has his gun rested
It's not-
up into the air.
It's not his gun. It's the police
did-
chief has a gun, a loaded gun with no
That's right.
safety on, sitting on his desk, that the guy grabs and says, "Well, we should," because he's saying that they should just shoot Zeus rather than fire him because it'll destroy him to be let go. Also,
Yeah, and-
just I like how angry this police chief is at just everything.
I mean, that's an 80s cop movie police chief, right?
Yeah, he's mistaking being angry for acting, I guess.
Oh, when he screams at that woman
His
for
mustache is
half
amazing,
a second.
though.
It is a good mustache.
That's true. It's an A+ mustache. So that takes us. So this is it's obvious what movies Pan-Andreas was watching and sort of cottoning onto as he was, I guess, writing this movie, and I'll put that in big air quotes. But the next thing we see is the president. So like I said, this movie has no sense of scale. So
Oh my God.
the
I love it
president-
so
Yeah, we
fucking
see
hard.
we see somebody on TV saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, the president of the United States," and the guy
Yeah.
on TV looks exactly like one of the guys in Batman 1989 when the people on the news
Yes.
are supposed to have been not allowed to use cosmetics because it's all poison. He looks like shit.
And
Uh-huh.
it's like somebody's drapes behind him.
And the desk he's
like
sitting
at
at,
a desk?
the desk
Yeah.
he's sitting at is it's not.
Incredible.
It's like they
He's
tried to
got, like, a
find
dining room
something.
table.
They
It's like a
tried.
60s dining room
Yeah,
table.
Yeah.
they tried
Yeah.
to find something that was as close to the Resolute desk as they could possibly get, which was not even remotely close.
No.
But it's you can see the way his feet are awkwardly set under the desk, and I'm like, why would you just shoot him from the waist up? Rather than push in with the open bottom of this table and his weird, awkward, open-legged sitting position.
Yeah, and the president is one of the first great value guys that we get in the movie because he's great value Robert Shaw, I would say.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. We also never learned the president's name.
Robert Shaw.
He's the president.
He's just the president.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the president says that he's had enough of the gangs and the crime and the drugs in America, and so drug war.
To the gangs and the crime and the drugs in America, and I'm very unhappy with the president, and decide that it's time to mellow him out a little bit.
Right. This is maybe my favorite part of this movie,
Let's
which
escalate
is
extremely quickly.
right. This is my favorite. My favorite part of this is that one, the guy who's the main gangster is there's like a main white gangster and a main black gangster. And the main white gangster boss guy, and then actually it turns out later there's another main gangster that you don't know about until literally the last 5 minutes of the movie. Yeah. But the white gangster, the black gangster is trying. He's given it a go. The white gangster is maybe the worst actor in this movie, and that is saying something.
It's like he has a flu for the entire movie.
Yeah, and so when they're watching this speech on TV. And the black gangster says something to him, and the white gangster's like, I don't know, man. All I know is that he's serious. Like, the president gave a speech about having a war on drugs, and like the gangsters are like, we got to stop this guy. He's gonna declare war on drugs. We're fucked. Like, they take it so seriously that they're gonna assassinate the president. Because the president gave a speech about being tough on crime and a war on drugs, which is
George Pan-Andreas didn't grow up here. He doesn't know what the president's job is, so he's doing his best.
Like literally every president since Nixon has given a variation of that speech, and like
they just see the like screen at the end of an arcade game and they freak the fuck out.
Yeah, right.
And then
that guy
Eddie, who's the like cringe-inducing, like jive-talking black member of the mafia, like the famous interracial mafia.
Yes.
He proposes to the white guy. What's his name?
I can't remember. Does he have one? I thought he was just.
He probably does, but you can't hear anyone say it. He proposes to the white guy that they should kill the president, and the guy says, "But you're talking about the president. The president." Of the United States. Just processing it, we see his whole process.
And there's a whole like slow zoom in on him just because of the significance of the moment,
Mm-hmm. Even though he could not be more bored.
No. He also, that guy looks, you know that thing where like they do a period piece and they like, you'll argue about like, oh, this guy looks too modern, or like, this guy is the reverse. He looks like a guy from now, like during quarantine, that like was transported into this movie, so he looks weirdly out of place.
Yeah, he looks too modern.
Yeah, he does, but not. I don't mean that as a compliment. Okay, yeah, sure.
So
the one thing that is good about his performance is that he's physically a large man, so it gives him kind of like a kingpin type vibe.
Yeah,
right.
He has an imposing silhouette. So so they can't kill. So as he tells us, you're talking about the president of the United States. So instead, they kill the president's ex-wife and her adopted daughter, I believe, and that's when.
Apparently, killing the president's wife and daughter was just too intense for our boy George, so he decided to just like scale it back just a little bit,
reel it in just a tiny bit.
Ex-wife and her adopted daughter.
Yeah,
and the police chief is very deliberately says that it's his adopted daughter.
Yeah. And we missed the part where the district attorney and the politicians have decided that they want Zeus to go on trial for killing the bad cops, but he just says no, and like that's it. Like this never, because that's how court works.
And then after the president's ex-wife and her adopted daughter are killed, the guy with the mustache shows up at George's house to try and convince him to.
He's the best ex whatever.
I guess.
Yeah,
you gotta come out of retirement.
That's right. It's been 5 whole minutes since he was a cop. He's the best ex whatever.
Pretty hard to tell the time scale there, how long he's been retired for.
Yeah. Yep.
I think in that scene, in the ex-wife and adopted daughter scene, we get the first taste of the movie's absolutely withering homophobia. Where and I didn't. This is the first. I think this is maybe like the fourth time I've seen this movie, and
Of course it is.
but it's the first time I picked up on that Zeus is describing when they're like they're trying to ID these two mobsters. So maybe it's the scene after that. He describes how like they figure out that these two guys were in prison together, and then Zeus says a line about they have a very particular friendship, which the first time the previous time I saw that movie, I didn't know that that was like old school Hollywood code language for that they're gay. And then one of I think that the police chief says like, "Oh, jailbird stuff, you mean?" Like very weird.
Jesus Christ.
And like, yeah.
Good Lord. Because you can't hear anything that anybody says, because whoever did the sound recording on this movie was terrible at their job.
It was George Pan-Andreas.
Totally whiffed on that. I didn't pick up on that at all. But Zeus is also like the world's great. He's Batman. He figures everything out immediately, so he immediately knows who these gangsters are, and you know.
We know that at the end it's because he's a CIA agent, but we go through the whole movie not knowing that.
Right. Yeah, and he decides that to figure out how to get to these guys, he's going to kidnap and torture another gangster.
Hold up, wait a minute. So the police chief mentions that there are no clues except there's a little girl who apparently saw something. She saw two black men and a white man. But she's 5 years old, and she's a vivid daydreamer, and she watches too much TV.
Number one. Number two, he's got the list ready to go. He practiced the list of why we shouldn't trust this little girl.
This is George telling us like what's wrong with America today, and it's like, oh God.
Right, and then Zeus is just like, but actually, what if we asked her for help? And then the guy's like, oh, you're a genius. You really got this figured out.
Did you guys mention that kid is also a great big daydreamer?
Yes.
Okay.
She's a great big daydreamer.
I almost went with that for my intro.
And so then, because they don't have a budget to shoot anywhere else, Zeus brings the little girl and her grandfather to his house.
Yep.
Where the police chief and another cop are also there.
There. They showed up at the house multiple times now, again, because it was the only filming location they had, probably.
Yep.
They had the real estate office as well, and the box factory.
And so once Zeus knows who can lead him to the two bosses who have a very particular.
He asked the little girl to point at the picture. The police chief says something about how the cuts on the necks were similar to another crime that happened 3 years ago, and so then Zeus decides to have them look at, I guess, the criminal records, of people in prison from that case, which they brought with them, even though they didn't mention it to him until they'd already showed up.
Yeah, they just had that.
And then they also had
somehow
blown up photographs of those people, and then he like throws them up in the air, and then the little girl does like a magic trick and pulls one out, and Zeus is like, "Yes, this is the guy. This is the only way that police."
Yep.
This is the way you solve.
This is how police work is done. And so he doesn't arrest that guy though, because if he arrests, I don't remember what his excuse is for not wanting to arrest him.
Well, I can tell you here if you let me look at my notes. It's because the bad guys are way ahead of us already.
Yeah.
And he nods knowingly, so that's why.
Right. Okay. So instead, he's just going to kidnap him and like torture him until he tells him where to find the.
Right. Makes sense to me. I mean, listen. The police chief seemed to think it was a good idea.
Because Zeus is unlike those bad cops that he dealt with in the opening scene. Zeus is a good cop.
Well, this guy's murdered people.
Oh, here we go.
So.
It's because you can't underestimate those guys. They're sharp and fast and know all angles and are powerful.
Know all angles. Did you nod knowingly while you were saying
And then I nod knowingly after I say that.
Yeah.
Yes,
As
of course.
the camera slowly zooms in on your
Yeah, right.
That's the one camera trick with the person shooting this.
Yeah, the dolly push in that's it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Also, so here's a hot tip. If you have a friend who owns a restaurant but not a friend who owns a strip club, just do belly dancing instead of having a stripper. That's how you handle that. That's how you clear that hurdle. You just go to the Greek family restaurant and have a belly dancer.
This is good,
There you go.
wholesome family entertainment. There's not a lot of blood, not a lot of cursing.
Yeah.
You can't have stripping, but you can have.
No, it's not that you can't. It's just that literally George Pan-Andreas didn't know anyone who owned a strip club. I am positive that is the reason behind why we get the belly dancer
does
instead of
also
a
some kind
stripper.
of Greek vibe going, like, because there's
Yeah,
Greek music
yeah,
playing
right.
as well.
I got
This
that
is a little
vibe.
Greek
Yeah.
culture for you. For that.
Exactly.
You
That
know
was
what
sort
I'm
of the
saying?
vibe I got, which is like,
Yeah.
well, people like this, you know, like.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, right.
I want to give them a little authentic taste of Greece.
Yeah, we get a shot of the belly dancer passing by this couple, and then
Yes.
the couple look at each other and they clink
Thank
their
you.
glasses together, and it's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like it's from a tourism commercial. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely.
And then one of the bad guys makes it rain on the belly dancer, as one does, right? That's normal,
Mhm.
right? That's how belly
Yeah,
dancing
yeah.
works.
It is.
I don't
In
know,
Greece,
probably.
maybe.
In Greece. Yeah, possibly.
So, this is the scene where we get the title, where we find out that Zeus is the crime killer.
Yeah, you just.
Zeus follows him to the alleyway, and then they get into a fist fight. And Zeus.
That's
beats
being
his ass.
generous.
Well, no,
It's
they,
excellent.
All right, they get into a fight, and I would say that really strangely and bizarrely, this fight scene is like maybe 25% good.
Yeah,
like it's
no,
shot
it
in
is.
medium shots, and there's like a couple cool, like that guy that they brought in was, I wouldn't be surprised if he was like the martial arts coach as well. Like he throws some convincing moves, and he moves pretty fast, and they shoot it at like
Yeah.
a nice viewing.
I
distance.
thought the same thing, actually, Ethan. Although they also... Oh, no, wait, that's the next scene. Never mind. But yeah, it's this guy's stuff looks pretty good. And then when Zeus, which also, the thing that's kind of embarrassing, though, is it is very clear that Pan-Andreas can't keep up with this dude. And so when he, like, grabs a hold of his arm and, like, wins the fight, you're basically like, okay, like, sure. Because he doesn't, like, trick him.
Listen,
or-
Joe, it's better to be smart than it is to be fast and strong.
But he doesn't.
just outfought
He
his-
doesn't do anything
he was,
smart.
He was in the place where the guy was going to move before he moved there, so he was able to grab the knife.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah,
sure.
the sequence of moves where he grabs the knife, like you get the sense that whoever choreographed this, like, had to, like, draw it out, like, just motion by motion, and just desperately was making George Pan-Andreas understand these moves.
It was
So
probably
it,
the
like,
guy
happens
who's fighting.
Yeah, it happens on these staccato beats. It's really strange.
There's a few weird edits too, where it's like things jump around and they're standing in different spots, and you're like, oh, all right. We're here
Yes,
now.
there's a really weird one where they shift like several feet over, and it's like, well, wait, what the fuck?
All right, well, I have a question.
Yeah.
What the hell are you?
Zeus. He says
They
Zeus,
call me
right?
Zeus.
Yeah.
Zeus.
The killer.
The killer?
Yes, the crime killer.
Thank you. Thank you.
That was a more convincing reading that you guys just did
Yeah, I was
than
gonna
what is
say.
actually in the film.
You guys should be in the remake.
The President of the United States.
Yeah. So this
Oh,
is
my, close Zoom. Anyways.
is this where he goes undercover as Pedro the gardener?
Yes.
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 it's
Yeah.
top with tennis
Yeah,
playing.
well, he goes undercover as Pedro the gardener, who is behind a fence, and a fence which is like a metaphysical fence that can exist at any space inside this like compound. Like he gets a front row seat to every conversation, and we never see where this fence is.
It's also a fence that somebody just like dropped some baby spinach on. Really good set design.
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't know a friend with a strip club. They
Fence
didn't know a
either.
friend with a tennis court.
This is probably his pool, right? This is
Probably,
just
it's
his
probably.
pool
I
with some
want to.
flowers and stuff.
Kind of make me
around
want to
it.
go back and see if it's the same pool from the other.
It
Some of the other
definitely is. I
scenes.
think they just shoot it
If
from
you
the.
s-
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
They're
I was
just shooting
thinking.
it from the
Yeah,
other
if-
side.
if you
Absolutely.
squint, you can see the hot tub where he was dunking that naked baby. But yeah, so anyway, the two gangsters that want to kill the president are now hanging out with a sheik.
Yeah, I think
guess?
so.
Just a
Yeah.
scary Middle Eastern man. We don't know.
A scary Middle Eastern.
I believe he's
Yeah,
actually
with a
just credited as
suspicious-
like Middle Easterner, if I remember
yeah, with a
correctly.
suspiciously Greek accent. Just a weird.
Oh no,
coincidence.
sorry. He's credited as Arab. That's what he. That's his
Good.
in the
Okay,
cast
yeah.
list.
Yeah. But anyway, he wants to buy weapons from the two gangsters, which includes apparently airplanes.
Yes.
Mhm.
He's buying $5 billion worth of weapons from two like mid-tier Hollywood gangsters.
Right,
Apparently,
and he offers to give them the money in gold, but actually what they want is $20 million worth of cocaine. But they just say they say
Yeah.
$20 million worth of.
because this is a
Well,
good,
it's 20
family
million in
movie.
international cocaine units. Which,
That's
Yeah. Right.
the exchange rate is,
Yeah.
Right.
He proposes the initial deal to the white gangster, and the white gangster says, "That's just not possible."
Then
But
make
then,
it
like,
possible.
yeah. Then like 5 minutes later, he's like, "Okay,
Alex,
we
you
have a
gotta be a little
deal."
bit more.
Yeah. Okay.
A little more what?
I said, could you do that, but like a little bit more Greek?
I mean, that was the best I could. No, I guess is to answer your question.
It's all Greek to me.
Anyway.
Oh boy.
But then so then somebody spots, I guess, him hanging out.
Well, no,
behind
you
the
missed
finished fence.
one of my favorite lines in the movie, which is the white gangster flips it around on him. I think they demand the payment in 20 million international cocaine units, and the guy says it won't be easy. I'm a military man. It won't be easy. And the gangster says, "Make it easy, comrade," which is actually an awesome line if he didn't deliver it like he was hung over as fuck.
Yeah, make it easy, comrade.
Yeah, like I want Tom Atkins to say "Make it easy, comrade."
Yeah,
To a
for
Greek
sure.
guy playing an Arabian
Yes.
terrorist.
Yeah.
Yes. So anyway, then somebody points out that a gardener is just being suspicious and watching them, and so the two gangsters meet him out back, and then he pretends to be a Mexican gardener, I guess.
Yes. Pedro, he was just by the pool so he could like peep on the ladies, That's it.
Right.
Yeah.
And so then they beat the crap out of him. Well, he screams "amigo" because he is.
He doesn't know any other Spanish.
Well, no,
Alright.
he's such a good actor that he.
Oh, I see.
Will not drop the character.
Right.
Oh,
So
well,
What's covered.
little did he know that one guy hates gardeners.
that's right. That's right. Yeah, I hate gardeners. I'm like, what? That's a weird thing to.
And puts a cigarette
Yeah.
out on his open wound on his leg.
That scene where they're beating the shit out of him is like 20% of this movie's runtime.
They're,
So long.
It's very long.
they use a shot where a dude they don't just use a shot. They slow-mo a shot where a dude misses kicking him by like 4
Yes.
full inches.
Yeah,
It's
I thought
amazing.
I like hallucinated that. Okay.
You did not.
All right.
It's phenomenal. I could not believe that. I was like, so not only did you not like use a different take, you literally went slow-mo on this dude just fucking getting nothing but air. Like you can see a mile of daylight between Zeus's face and this guy's foot. It's so good. But I am surprised that in his weird vanity project that Pan-Andreas didn't make it so he just like beat the shit out of all the guys, like all the thugs who beat him up. Like he actually takes the beating so he doesn't blow his
dedicated
cover.
to the cause. He doesn't want to blow a cover.
Yeah.
Amigo.
Mhm.
And so then we get shirtless George being nursed back to health by his wife.
Is all you care about justice and Uzo?
We never.
That's my favorite
see
line in
him
the
drink
movie.
Ouzo in this movie, and I had no memory. I could have sworn that the president actually drinks Ouzo with him, but he doesn't.
It's like the end of
They
Bad
bring it up
Dudes.
though.
Bring it up.
Yeah, it is like the end of Bad Dudes, where
Yeah.
he offers to go out for burgers with the bad dudes, but you don't see it. He offers to drink Ouzo with Zeus, but you don't see it. It's the same thing.
Mhm. Another video game this movie predicted.
Yeah, I think that might have been contemporaneous.
Oh yeah, maybe. I guess in the arcade, maybe.
Yeah, the arcade version of. Let's find out. Oh no, 88. So it did predict. It predicted. The crime killer predicts Bad Dudes versus Dragon Ninja.
hmm So in the conversation he's having, where he's trying to reassure his wife, that he's not going to die, he, I think, immediately after that, is he talking to the police chief where he
Yes.
describes his plan to get together with his two
He
Vietnam
needs his
buddies?
boys.
Oh my god.
Yes.
There's brothers.
Well, he has the Vietnam flashback when he's getting the we forgot this movie has a Vietnam flashback. We totally glossed over that. Well, he's getting the shit kicked out of him. He has a Nam flashback because
He's being like waterboarded.
Yeah, basically.
Is this before the training flashback?
Yes.
Okay, we'll get there.
And then
It's like the next thing.
Yeah.
but it's not a flashback. That is happening now.
Okay, see, this is I could not figure this out.
No, the training is happening
the
now.
training-
Right. That's what
And
I'm
they're-
saying.
and
The
Trainer-
training is making him flashback to something that
Yes.
happened in the
Right.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah,
Correct.
there's no explanation given of how he and his two buddies, who we don't even meet up to this
There's
point,
not.
end up with this trainer who apparently works for the government. Like, because he tells one of the buddies
There is brothers.
that now you're property of the U.S. government.
I don't know where you're getting that from. That they're his brothers.
I'm pretty sure that his wife says they're his brothers that were living
I
with
think
them.
they meant the
Been
I
like
think
brothers
brother
in
is a
arms?
figure to, you
Yeah.
know, like,
You know, like a
Yeah.
metaphorical brother. I don't.
yeah.
I don't know.
Either
you-
way,
They had not
like,
been in
where
the
did
film.
they get this drill sergeant?
Yeah.
Like he works for the government, and he's willing to train for a month
Yeah.
these three civilians.
Right. Well, you guys. So we also skipped over the fact that the gangsters kill Emily, and the grand.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And this is like the impetus for him to get together with his brother.
Oh, right,
His
yeah.
boys.
Right.
Yeah. To go back to the training and have his Vietnam flashbacks being captured and waterboarded.
To power him up further.
Yeah.
This
So
movie
if-
also
if
predicted
that- if
R.
the-
Lee
like
Ermey in the
20-minute
Full Metal Jacket.
scene that in
Yeah.
any other movie would have been like a 3-minute montage.
I was gonna say, so if the scene of him getting the shit beat out of him is 20% of the runtime,
This is
this
40.
portion was about 400%. Like,
This is like it's so weird that he glosses over some things where it's just like, how did you figure out who the bad guys were and what happened with how did the bad guys kill the president's
I figured it
ex-wife
out.
and daughter?
I just figured it out.
Yeah, right, but then-
I figured it out by figuring it out.
But then we spend like
I thought about it.
15 minutes on this fucking training thing that should have been a 2-minute montage with like a shitty hair metal song behind it. And I'm utterly baffled by it. This is agonizing to sit through. I do not understand.
He does say what did he say? He said something about like where do you find this guy, like Fag Alley or something.
He
Yeah,
definitely
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some
He also
great
says-
like great.
He says a
quote, unquote.
couple things where I think he's like trying to be homophobic, but because
Yeah.
his dialogue is written by George Pan-Andreas, some of it doesn't make sense. So he
Yeah,
says,
exactly.
like
he
that
says,
line doesn't make
"What do you
sense
think
at
we're
all.
teaching around here? Christianity."
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? And then he says, "What are you guys, clerks?" Which George Pan-Andreas, I guess, thinks
Got him.
clerks are gay. I'm not sure if he knows what a clerk is.
Well, I also think it's weird that earlier in the movie they talk about how they have a certain kind of friendship or whatever, but now like we're just dropping the F slur, like
Yeah.
it's all all higgledy piggledy.
That's how the military is.
I guess.
But also, yeah. So then there's a great part. There's some great stuff in this training montage, though. Where like the drill sergeant picks up these 2 sacks.
Well, he has one of the guys is doing it, and he puts him down. He's like, "You do it," and so the drill sergeant does it.
Yeah, and then the guy tries to jump over the thing of water, and the drill sergeant knocks him down, and then the guy gets back up, and then he knocks him down again by turning around and hitting him in the face with his cane.
I think this whole scene exists just so we can see George do a backflip on a balance beam.
So we
Like,
can see
that's-
so we can see him being like waterboarded, and then also the Vietnamese, the Viet Cong guys peeing into the trough that they're pushing his head into.
Don't
Oh,
they
yeah, and
ask
then
him
the
to like
guy-
eat the cow's asshole or something
the
like
Viet
that?
Cong guy
Pig.
says,
Pig's
"Eat
asshole.
pig asshole," but he's like very obviously like a Chinese American kid from Orange County who goes to USC, who they like paid $50. Like,
Yeah.
does not look like a Vietnamese soldier.
Well, one of them is Philip Ree, who would go on to be in like all the Best of the Best movies. like Best of the Best with Eric Roberts, the karate movie. By the end, of course, he's like a spy or whatever, because that's what happened to martial arts movies in the 80s. By the end of this, if they made multiples, you had to be a spy by the end of them. But yeah, one of those dudes is Philip Ree. It's ridiculous. And one of them is Yuji Okamoto, who was in The Karate Kid Part 2, was in Inception, has been in like a whole bunch of stuff, you know.
So this is where all the star power in the movie is.
Yeah, right. Yeah, in the.
And then the guys run in place, and the drill sergeant salutes them, and says, "Gentlemen, our mission is complete." And then just wanders off into the desert. And then cuts to the three Vietnamese, the three soldiers hanging out, or the two soldiers and George hanging out in his living room, and George is like holding a phone in the most bizarre way I've ever seen in my entire fucking life. He's like got it he's got like the receiver up to his mouth, but he's like holding it backwards.
He's like holding it upside down and backwards.
Yeah.
He was trying to set the side talking meme in motion, 20 years
He's from
early.
Greece. He didn't know how to use American phone.
Yeah, and Greece phones
it's
are
different.
upside down and backwards from the way they are. It's because they're in a different hemisphere. Actually, it's like the toilets in Australia, the phones in Greece.
So this is the point in the movie where I kind of realized, like, I was expecting this movie to be something more along the lines of like one of the very last Death Wish sequels. Like, I was expecting something in the key of Death Wish 5, and that's not really what this movie is. This is more like a terrible Dirty Harry movie. But also at this point,
it goes more to the top than a Dirty Harry.
That's true. Well, yeah. Because George Pan-Andreas has no sense of scale, or what appropriate stakes are.
To ride a totally sweet dirt bike.
So that's
maybe
the coolest thing in the movie is coming up with that dirt bike. But so
yeah.
I felt like going into this, like, they didn't make it super clear that they were actually going to where the deal was happening at that warehouse. Like, I was like, they're just going to find the bad guys. But I mean, who knows? I might have missed it because, again, you can't hear anything anybody says in this movie. So now his friends, who are like two schlubby ex-Vietnam soldiers who, like, looks like they hadn't done anything. Right, I was going to say, it looks like they hadn't done anything since, they left Vietnam, are suddenly, like,
killers.
Yeah, they're Arnold Schwarzenegger. They've turned into the unit from Predator, like, before the Predator shows up to kill them all, right? Like, that's the transformation we've witnessed here. And they go to the... and this is where Anthony's favorite song in the movie happens.
These olives, they'll turn you into a goddamn sexual tyrannosaurus.
It's just like me.
Just like me.
And so they drive. There's like a long driving montage, just like completely unnecessary. Eric and I were talking about this movie off air like a couple days ago, and Eric was saying that this is one of those movies that feels like they padded it out just to get to feature length, and you were spot on with that assessment. I hadn't seen it yet when we'd had that conversation.
This movie could have been like 45 minutes long if you just turned all the padding into like 2-minute montages.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm glad they didn't, because
it's special.
Yeah, So they drive up to this place, and then there's a big fight, kind of, and also like the black gangster gets away with like a Ziploc baggie of cocaine, and like acts like it's a victory. Like, didn't you just get screwed out of $20 million?
What was with the guy?
Yeah, there was like a dead guy like hanging up somewhere. I don't really know what was going on with that.
No idea.
But that's after the big shootout in the box factory,
right? Yes.
Which totally, I think, it predicts the cocaine factory scene from RoboCop. Because there's like guys on the second level where you have to like aim higher on the screen in Lethal Enforcers.
I'm gonna shove this whole factory so far up your stupid wop ass you'll be shitting snow for a month.
You guys think of George's pistol silencer?
Oh, he's got the special.
Like
he's got the special movie. He's got the special James Bond pistol silencer where it makes like a dart gun noise. Which is, I mean,
there's definitely some sound effects from GoldenEye in there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
One where he does the cool roll and kicks the guy in the head.
Yep.
And then Goldeneye.
Yep.
I do like that there aren't like
George
punching sound effects though.
What's that?
I like that like you actually hear people like hitting limbs.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
I mean,
That's-
I'm being facetious. I also don't like that.
Okay.
Some sides of beef were hit by a. with a
It was really
baseball bat.
distracting.
No, not enough sides. Yeah, some sides of beef needed to get hit by a baseball bat. That's what we needed. So yeah, the big shootout. Also, Ethan, you say the big shootout. This is like, it's not even as long as the driving montage.
shootout.
It's so weird.
Well, because they're so efficient, because they trained for a month.
It's because they're running out of money so fast. They, but then the singular practical makeup effect that they spent money on in this movie is after the shootout when he's chasing the black gangster, and this actually legitimately like rules and is the coolest thing about this movie. The dude,
I mean,
the black
stunts and
gangster,
like stunts in general are really good.
yeah, for sure. So the black gangster is driving in a car with a sunroof, and Zeus drives the dirt bike over the sunroof, like jumps off a ledge and comes down on top of the car, and the spokes of the back wheel of the motorcycle just like shred half of this dude's face as he drives over the car, and it actually fucking rules and is. I want to see someone do that in a good movie.
The stuntman or Zeus wipes out after that.
Yeah.
And it looks gnarly. Like he looks like he comes down hard.
Yeah. Yep.
That entire car sequence is like really funny to me because at one point just another car just shows up and like eats shit, and like that car like just came out of nowhere and is not seen again. And it's like, and then just the black gangster just like has a flat tire suddenly, and it's like, how did any like what? It made me
The
feel
black
like I was like
gangster's
missing something.
the black gangster, his name is Eddie, and I know that his name is Eddie only because after Zeus grinds his face off, I think Eddie is going to try to pull a gun on him, or he's going to do something, and Zeus
Oh yeah, he
shoots
says
him in the neck, and for whatever reason, he doesn't bleed at all out of this wound on his neck, because they
Didn't have
couldn't
the
figure out how to
budget.
get and then he says, "C'est la vie, Eddie." C'est la
Yes.
vie.
Yes. And I was
For
like,
some reason, he says that.
yeah.
He doesn't know this guy's name, or maybe he does from the pictures, but he's never talked to this guy ever.
No, it says as if it's a meaningful like callback or something. Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't get like that's supposed to be his like his
Maybe
I'll
that's
be
a
back
phrasing
moment,
thing
or
for
his
Greece.
like his make my day, or do I feel
Right.
lucky? C'est la vie, Eddie. And it's like what the fuck? Why would
And
you
he only
think?
does it the one time in the movie.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
He does. Well, he has a different one-liner in the scene immediately following this, where he invades the white guy's compound and pushes the guy into the pool.
Oh,
Like,
yes.
pushes the
Oh.
one.
I can't swim,
the
man.
guy-
I can't
the guy-
swim.
The guy sneaks up on him and kicks him in the back, and then he kicks the guy in the nuts and rolls him into the pool. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the guy says, "I can't swim," and he says, "Learn, punk."
Yeah.
Learn. Which is the same delivery and the same kind of like rhythm as "C'est la vie, Eddie, c'est la vie."
I mean, that's kind of the way he kind of does everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something. So,
All
So
of
this is where the big reveal is that
well, no.
Beardo
First he
is actually
fights.
a
First he
weeb.
fights Beardo.
Oh. but that's where you find out he's a weeb.
Oh yeah, because right.
He's got. Yeah,
He's just weirdly like
He's got his.
got all kinds of Japanese stuff all of a sudden,
Yeah.
which he hasn't had up until this point in the movie.
Right. This is also the part where it becomes useful that he's a big dude, like Ethan was saying
Yes.
earlier, because he like tosses Zeus around the house, like, and some like there's one shot where like throws him through a table or a desk or whatever, and like that actually looks pretty good. Like that's the,
Yeah.
But then like he ends up kind of getting I don't even remember how Zeus kills him, honestly. That's how.
Like,
slits
cuts
his
him with a
throat.
knife.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, he's got like a spring-loaded knife in his wrist.
In his wrist, yeah, like Assassin's Creed. This movie also predicted Assassin's Creed. Oh man, so ahead of its time. Yeah, that's right. But then the final boss shows up, and it's like the common complaint about the first Friday the 13th movie is that like the movie is setting up like who is the killer, that we're seeing it from their perspective, and then at the end it's just like the killer shows up and goes like, "Hi, I'm Mrs. Voorhees. Also, I'm the killer." And you're like, "Well, that's ridiculous. Like I didn't even see this person the whole movie and they were doing all the killing." Like this woman just shows up. She comes out of a random door in the house and is just like, "Surprise, I'm the final boss." And like
Great value Eartha Kitt.
Yeah, I mean, she's like the final fight, but she's like the.
she's
like the leader of the syndicate or whatever.
Yeah, right.
She's
She's
the syndicate.
yeah.
And then she has a button on her ring, I guess, that's supposed to.
She's
shoot
a James
dart.
Bond contraption.
Yeah, supposed to shoot a dart into him, but he figures it out and spins her around, and she eats the dart instead.
And then he says, "You conquered the world, lady, but you lost your soul."
Right. Yeah. Right. Which is
To a
Is
person
that-
he's never met before. Didn't
Right.
know she existed.
Yeah, didn't know she existed until she walked into the room.
I mean, she does establish pretty quickly that she owns like a lot of corporations and is like in the evil drug business. So, I mean, you know.
I
Yeah,
guess
so
you
I
could
think
probably
he's-
assume that
I-
you lost your soul doing that.
Exactly.
I think that he was trying to quote Mark 8:36. I did not know that off the top of my head. I had to look it up, but it's a Bible verse that says, "What does it profit a man to gain the whole world yet forfeit his soul?" Like I think that's what he was going for, but he quotes it wrong. So it's like
I think you're giving him way too much credit.
I mean, I think there's kind of seeds around this movie that show that he's a religious guy. Like
Yeah.
that weird thing in the oopening credits.
I mean, after all, in the boot camp they're teaching
Yeah.
Christianity.
About Catholicism.
He's probably Greek
Yeah.
Orthodox, I would get. Well, he
Yeah, I
could be
would guess.
Catholic. But yeah, I mean, the boot camp guy is training them in Christianity, so obviously, you know, that's the deal. But yeah, so then the president himself reinstates Zeus as an officer of the law. And it's like a sitcom ending where like they're all like everybody
really
laughs.
fucking weird.
Yeah, you know, where it's like someone says something like kind of funny and they're all like, "Ah, ha, ha, ha." Oh,
Everyone's like, that Zeus is so fucking cool.
pretty
Zeus,
much.
Like, what does he like? He does like a sleight of hand thing where the president
Takes the-
the Secret Service guy, Zeus like steals the guy's gun.
It's not even a sleight of hand thing. He just reaches and takes it. He's like, look, a gun. It's like, what?
And the president laughs like it's the funniest thing he's
Yes.
ever seen in his whole life. He's laughing for like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell if my brain just gave up on the movie at this point, or if
Yeah,
this
I was
part
definitely
just got
there.
more
It did.
fever dreamish.
Yeah. He pulls a fucking anime move where he fucking like signs the dude's hat.
Yeah.
Like,
Takes the chauffeur's hat, and then signs it. And then there's an exploding watch.
Uh-huh.
which I think that's meant to be funny, but I was just confusing.
Yeah, well, it's
Yeah,
like
I'm
a
sure.
James Bond. And they also play
Right,
it like a gag, right? It's like you click the thing
That's what I'm
once
saying.
and it does the thing, and you click it a second time and it starts the stopwatch, and if you click it a third time, it's a hand grenade, and it's just like, what the fuck?
Well,
It does end with a freeze frame, which is
And
great.
it ends
guess
with
it
freeze
makes
frame.
a,
Yeah.
I
That's-
guess it takes a great thief to make a good cop.
That's also
As
the scene
famous
where-
saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they do say that.
Yeah. I thought the movie was going to end with him saying that, but then it kept going. But yes, the freeze frame really pleased me.
Mm-hmm. And the freeze frame comes in late, like they
Yeah, it does.
they shake
Sure
hands,
does.
and like they're standing there for too long.
They
And then
do
they
the
freeze.
thing where you say goodbye on a Zoom call, and then you click the button, but then it pops up to say to end the call, and so everyone like tries to hold their smile for like 3 seconds longer than they're supposed to.
Mhm.
In real life, like that's how that was. Like
You're not quick
And then
enough
we
on
get
the draw with just closing out of your Zoom calls, Anthony. That's what I think the object lesson
There's
is
also
here.
that.
And then we get the over the end credits, the original song composed for this movie. I do
It's
believe.
amazing.
It's
It's incredible.
This is the Great Value Shaft theme by Isaac Hayes. That's what this is.
Yeah, anytime you end a movie with a song about the movie you just watched,
Yeah.
I'm all for it. I'm 100%.
I feel like we didn't talk enough about the rap song at the end of Maniac Cop 2 when we did that. So that movie also did that.
We definitely talked.
We
about
talked
it,
about it, but I don't think we really gave it the time it deserves. I don't know that this one deserves any time, but yeah, it's.
Anyway, I just want you guys to remember that every man has the right to stand up for justice.
That's right, and Uzo probably.
Thanks,
too.
Eric. And yeah.
So do we figure out that his sequel that he planned to make for this movie was it not made?
No,
I'm
it is.
still looking at IMDb and trying to figure out. Because I had known of the Golden Target before I started reading about this movie to refresh myself for this podcast. I had heard of that movie, and I could have sworn that it was actually did come out maybe in 97, 2000, 2003 or something. But now I'm not seeing any trace of it.
IMDb doesn't even have a movie by that title at all, but The Matadors apparently came out in 2017 and is 2 fucking hours long and co-stars Eric Roberts.
All right, no, here we go. Golden Target does exist. I'm looking at a listing on...
Is it on his website? Because he has a
No.
GPAfilms.com or something.
No, it's not. It looks like it's from 1995, and it was at least maybe independently released on DVD, and it looks like it was also on VOD on planes.
What?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
And
here we
it's
go.
got,
Here we go.
yeah.
It is on the GPA Films International listing. It is.
We gotta get our hands on this.
Here we go, guys. Here we go. Zeus, a CIA agent recuperating from a previous mission, is signaled into action by an imminent international cartel deal. Arms for drugs. Target, the #1 terrorist hitman and potential martial arts killer, is enlisted to eradicate Zeus. The target is about to force the CIA to reveal its most avowed top-secret mission, which might threaten Washington's newest weapon for world peace, and Star Wars. Zeus's pregnant fiancée Shannon is mercilessly gunned down in his presence on a California beach at sunset. Zeus pursues in an unrelenting chase to find and torment the crime syndicate bosses, agents of the cartel. Zeus appears with Shannon's body on their doorstep as the FBI and CIA converge, squabbling over proper jurisdiction. Helicopters and SWAT teams surround the lavish estate. In a series of action-packed wild chases, Zeus dishonors the acclaimed target, and CIA continues its timely pursuit of Plan for Peace.
So there's on his website there is it says trailers, and then there is a trailer for Golden Target that's 8 minutes and 26 seconds long.
Wow.
I got to get my hands on this.
What is it? It's called what? Zeus Golden Target?
It's called Golden Target.
Okay. I'll look for it. Gotta find it. All right, so
Wow.
I'm looking at my notes to see if I missed anything. The thing I really need to call out is when the president reads that note, the letter he reads on air, he stumbles on the word introduced.
Oh no,
And
he says I think he says
Insid-
introduced. I think that George Pan-Andreas wrote that. That's my theory.
Yeah, I think so too. But it was just so funny to me to see that. God, the cut to the president just killed me.
Ladies and gentlemen,
And then
Yeah,
it's just that guy at
news
the
anchor
desk.
and the white gangster are both as enthused equally to
Yes.
to announce the president of the United States.
Yeah, definitely.
The president of the United States.
Yeah, that's the one.
Oh, and then the other was when he's like fixing his car and he's in like his
case like like in The Last Crusade. It's pretty good. Like it looks like the boat from The Last Crusade. Oh, he just crashed into an island.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And then, well, there's also the line where he's like dressed like a mechanic because he's like working on his car, and then the guy's like, when his boss comes to pick him up, he's like, "Do I have time to wash up?" And he just goes, "No, get in."
Oh yeah,
I
and
just
then he
briefly
does a cool move to jump over the
He
front
does
of the
do
car.
it.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was gonna say he
Yes.
jumps over the hood, but he doesn't. He just jumps like with his hand on the hood,
On the hood,
and then
yeah.
walks around. But that I had, in an effort to try to understand what people were saying, I put the auto-generated subtitles on,
Oh,
which
boy.
obviously those are not accurate. But like I could at least piece together like what a sentence was by figuring out the 5 words it could understand. And so when it said, "Do I have time to wash up?" it translated it as worship, and I just like really like that.
Mm-hmm.
Do I have time to worship? No. Get in. We got to go to the real estate office.
Yeah, I think my final thought about this movie is that everyone who is listening to this podcast should just watch it. It's
Absolutely.
a true delight, and I'm sure there's so many movies like this that like that by happenstance I hadn't seen. Like I'm not even sure really how I saw this one. I think a friend of mine who collected a whole bunch of VHS like from stores that were closing down, video stores that were closing down, ended up with a copy. But there's just not much on it, and it deserves more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was fun. It was definitely fun. I mean, there's a lot of really bad movies, but very rarely are they entertaining for the
Worthwhile in any way. Yeah.
There's so many like MST3K movies that are, of a similar quality to this, but would be completely unwatchable without the commentary because just nothing happens. But this movie is, even when nothing is happening, the nothing is kind of like weird and stilted in a way that makes it kind of fun to sit through. So.
Yeah, it's like I said, the ideal situation for this would have been to like watch it in a hotel room in Boston with you guys. Like that would have been,
Absolutely.
the way to consume this film. I think it's it's similar to The Room, what Alex was saying, in that it's like it's a total vanity project, and it's just where like confidence and competency have completely missed each other in every possible way that they could. And this is just like it's like it's like if Orson Welles was a talentless hack, like you know what I mean? Like it's just, there's not even really a good comparison, because like we said, he did the stunts, he wrote it, he directed it, he fucking edited this movie. He's the only credited editor. He sat in an editing bay with no one looking over his shoulder and put this fucking thing together. Like, what the hell?
Can we just briefly point out that there's a scene where they mention that they're going to go kill the mobsters and stuff, and they're like, "Oh yeah, by the way, the old man also died." And then
yes,
after that happens, he's in the middle of a sentence, and it just cuts away to them leaving.
Yeah, that
Good.
was
Yeah.
Good.
There's some good cuts. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that. It's like it's the two people are having a fist fight, and from one shot to the next they teleport 4 feet to the left, and it's just like there's the phrase of like that goes around Twitter of like usually women saying like, God grant me the confidence of a mediocre white man, and like this is beyond that, like what George Pan-Andreas thinks he's capable of and what he is actually capable of are not even on the same planet. Yeah, I mean, it's a sight to behold. Because there are some
made
movies
it happen in a time in filmmaking history where it was definitely a lot harder to just knock out a movie than it is now.
I mean, sure, but if you own... So this... Actually, I will say, this movie does not look like it was shot on Shittio, right? So that's one thing that you have to give it, because there are definitely movies that were shot on Shittio, and you're like, yep, that looks like utter... Even if the movie's good, it looks like garbage, because it was shot with a, 1987 VHS camera. But, like... I'll give it that, but it doesn't look like it was color corrected right, or like, I don't know. It's hard to tell if it was shot on 16 millimeter or 35 millimeter, because this is a VHS transfer that we watched, so it's hard to say. But I mean, he owns a bunch of real estate in Hollywood, so like, all you need to make a movie is money, and he had money, like, so. I don't know, man. Like, I see, there's movies like, I can't remember the guy's name now. What the fuck is his name? Hopefully it'll come to me or I'll look it up. But there's this dude who makes these really out there, kind of action martial arts movies. He made one called Deadbeat at Dawn. He's from Ohio. He shoots all his movies in Ohio. Most of them were on 16 millimeter. He ended up doing like pretty well in music video. Like he made music videos for Skinny Puppy and like other industrial bands and stuff. But he made this movie, Deadbeat at Dawn, and I went to see it at a midnight showing prior to the bad times. This is like summer of 2019 or whatever. And thinking like it would be good for a laugh. And like at the end of it, I was like, okay, like obviously this was made on a shoestring budget. Like this dude didn't really know what he was doing totally. But like that was actually a pretty good action movie that was made for like $10 and with all his friends and shot on 16 millimeter. But like, it wasn't bad, and this movie is not that, you know what I mean? Like, there's a charm to, we wanted to do something and we couldn't quite afford to do something, but, like, we still have some chops and some competency and some, like, ability, and this is just 100%, I am a talentless hack with a vanity issue, and I just made a fucking movie, and dear God, it's almost unwatchable, and that, I mean, like I said, it's hilarious, but, whoa, boy, it's fascinating. And then he made a trilogy out of this with this character.
I've got some important but maybe frustrating news, which is that my friend Michael, who was responsible for introducing me to this movie, does have a copy of Golden Target.
Oh shit!
But it's a PAL cassette in German.
I was just gonna say, because I have a VCR that I could rip. I can rip high def as will allow. It upscales VHS, to 1080. But if it's in German, that wouldn't help us anyways. And also, I don't think this. Well, no, it probably would. It probably would do PAL, because once you're outputting to 1080, it doesn't matter if it's PAL or NTSC, right? Because that's no longer a factor. So I don't know.
There's an English language copy of this movie out there somewhere, and also there's a contact link on GPA Films.
I was gonna say, I'm surprised GPA won't sell us like a burned DVD of it. This like the shittiest possible version of Warner Archive. Like, they'll make one on demand for you.
Okay, I'm gonna have to remember the Action Cast login. I'm gonna send them an email.
I can tell you. Oh no, wait! I don't. You're the one who figured out what it was. I have the On the Stick podcast login, not the Action Cast one. You're the only one with that one, I think, now. But anyways, I don't know. I do not have anything else to say about The Crime Killer, but it is, I mean, as everybody else kind of said already, I agree. Like, there's a link in the description of the thing you're watching right now if you've made it this far. Watch the movie if you didn't already. If you didn't stop when we said at the beginning you should just watch the movie, you should really just watch the movie. It's 85 minutes or 80 minutes of just absolutely banana pants incompetence at filmmaking. It's
but pure. It's so pure.
It is. Yeah.
This is once again one of those movies where, like, I feel like at the very end of a hour plus 2 hours almost talking about it, we're like, you should definitely watch it if you're listening, and I'm like, you would only listen this far in if you watched it.
I mean, that's very possible.
We should do these up front next time, but yeah.
Well, I mean, this is streaming live, and there were people watching. There are people watching now.
I guess people
so,
can like, yeah.
You know, but I mean, it's something else. It really is. It really is. But I don't know. Does anybody else have anything to say before I end this installment of the Action Cast?
No, I'm going through my notes to find another really good GPA line, but I think we hit on them all.
My favorite is still, it's not even a GPA line. It's still is all you care about, Justice and Uzo.
We missed one line that I wrote down, which is I think a really evocative piece of writing where the drill instructor screams at the two guys, "You fucking pieces of shit!"
Yeah, that whole thing is such a weird non sequitur, but yeah. All right, well, we'll be back next month. So this is actually a day later than we normally do this. We typically are convening for this on the second Monday of every month, and we'll be back in July with, like, I don't even know what, something ridiculous, I'm sure.
Maybe Golden Target.
Let's give it some breathing room, okay? Even if we find a copy of Golden Target, I think
If we find it, we're saving it for when we're all in person.
I feel like that's what we should do, or we should at least make plans to watch it together on Discord or Skype or something, even if we do. But whatever it is, we'll be back on the second Monday of July, and yeah, that'll do it. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for sitting through and suffering with us through the crime killer here on the Action Cast. Good night.
They should be suffering. They should be so lucky.